So in this video, I'm going to break down my tips and tricks for the Tailee. Well, I'm here today to talk to you about, I'm not going to call it what it's usually called. It just doesn't sound right. I'm going to call it the Tailee. And there's a lot of videos out there that kind of have their own explanations of how to do it. And I kind of have my own way, and I just thought, why not add to that collection? Maybe I can make something click with other people on the subject matter, especially as everyone has a half slice. And if you don't have one, I recommend you get one. I looked for various things around the house to use as kind of an analogy, and I have a knife, and then I thought, maybe I'll use this block of cheese. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so basically how I like to imagine the stern is like a knife blade, and this cheese will be the water. And so what we want to do is we actually want to angle the knife blade, i.e. your stern, into the water so that it's going to slice in and catch the current, or slice in and you can lean back and kind of start to get it more vertical. So if you were just to come in with an upwards angle like this, you're not going to cut anything. Too flat, you're going to cut stuff, but you're not going to get that. You're not going to get a lot of cheese, for one, and for two, you're not going to capture a lot of water, and therefore you're not going to get that vertical, and then you don't look as cool, and you don't get to eat as much yummy cheese. So ideally we want to come in at this angle and drive down and try not to cut your finger off, but you can see how we're cutting more cheese off the block. I'm getting happier because I get more cheese to eat. And there's some on the floor, don't worry, that won't go to waste. And yeah, that's kind of the analogy. So let's hit the water and make this happen for reals. So in polo, when you do a pivot turn, it's much like the stern squirt. You're going to be angling your boat and edging that knife blade into the water. You're going to be edging your boat towards the direction you want to rotate, and I'm going to do a demonstration right now. Notice how I'm winding up with my blade. This is me preparing to release that energy. I'm going to be releasing that spring, and once I release this energy, it's going to be going into my stern, and because it's angled, it's going to be driving into the water. So you want to edge your boat in the direction that you're going to be rotating. In order to maximize the use of the river current, we want to approach an eddy line with our boat being 90 degrees to it. The stronger the eddy line, the more rotation you're going to gather out of this. So here you can see my boat is 90 degrees to the eddy line, and I'm going to be initiating my stern pretty much where those currents meet. We're going to be angling our stern, i.e. that knife blade, in the upstream direction while we wind up and release a sweep stroke. Now that we've initiated, we want to continue this motion of spinning. And it's very important that you plant that paddle that you've initiated your Tailee with to control your spin. So now you're probably asking yourself, what is Gord doing with this paddle in the water, and how does this work? Well, I'm going to explain that. So what I'm actually doing is prying the water. And this prying action is doing two things. One, I'm prying the water towards and around the bottom of my boat. This gives me spin. When you pry away from your kayak, you're going to notice that this will drive the stern downwards and into the current again, and you'll start spinning. Once you start spinning, you can do your draw or your pry and start pushing that water around the bottom of your boat again. Remember, the faster the spin, the more stable you are. So to review these steps, make sure that you're approaching that eddy line at 90 degrees. As you approach the eddy line, wind up. Get ready to release that energy as soon as your stern is at those two opposing currents. Plant that paddle for control and pry to get that rotation going. Remember, you're angling that stern to slice into the water in the direction you want to turn. In this case, it's going to be the upstream edge. So this prying action, when I'm going around my boat, is a sweep like this. So I'm actually staying ahead of the rotation of my boat. So I'll be turning and I'll be drawing in like this. So I'll be turning and drawing. And this is moving the water around the front of my kayak, which is then in turn turning my boat. And I do it again, and again, and again. If you feel like your boat is starting to flatten out, that's when I'll pry in this direction. So it'll be a movement that looks like this. And this brings your stern down. Then once it's down, you can reach again and pull that water around your kayak.